Well, Rishi Sunak is again fighting for survival after the Tories suffered double by-election losses in Wellingborough and Kingswood. Labour did triumph in both constituencies, although it must be said that they lost 5,000 votes in one and only gained another 100 votes in another. But Reform UK did have their best ever by-election result. They came in third place. Speaking earlier today, even Sunak admitted that his party is now facing an uphill battle to win voters back.
Midterm by-elections are always difficult for incumbent governments, and the circumstances of these by-elections were, of course, particularly challenging. Now, I think if you look at the results, very low turnout, and it shows that we've got work to do.
The most challenging thing about the circumstances is that it's not a midterm by-election, is it? It's election year. But with the Tories now hemorrhaging voters to both Labour and Reform, tonight I am asking, should the Tories ditch Rishi Sunak? Let me know your thoughts. Email me, gbviews@gbnews.com, tweet me at gbnews, and we do have a poll up and running, so make sure you take part in that. The results will follow very, very shortly. But I am joined tonight for this epic head-to-head and battle royale by Conservative MP Philip Davies. I've also got David Campbell Bannerman, Mr Grassroots of the Tory party. Look, David, I'll start with you. OK, do you think that the Tories should ditch Rishi and at least try for the old Hail Mary?
Well, I do, Patrick. I do think it's time for a change. I regret we have to do this, but we've just had the sixth by-election loss, and what's happening is Conservative voters aren't coming out. You know, over 20,000 of them are you know, not voting in each one of these six by-elections. So I'm afraid it's time for a change. We can do it in a week. And it can be changed in a week. You know, you can consult the members in that time. And I think, you know, Rishi is not happy in the job. It's quite clear. I hear from Downing Street that they've given up. And Indale today was saying that they're not even campaigning now. So I think it really is desperate. We must do this for the good of the country and the party, our own party. Otherwise, we get 10 years of Labour.
Philip, I'll throw it over to you. I mean, if you've got a choice between certain death and clinging on, why are you choosing Dignitas?
Well, look, I don't accept that, to be perfectly honest. Look, of course, the day's got a Y at the end of it, so of course David's calling for Rishi Sunak to go. He does that every day of the week, of every day of the year. So it's no great shock that he's sort of come up again to say the same thing. I mean, look, basically, David is a fanatic of Boris Johnson. He's so fanatical about Boris Johnson, he was chairman of the Freedom Association and supported the lockdowns. That's how, just let that sink in for a couple of minutes, but that's how fanatical he is about Boris. And of course, David's obsessed. David's obsessed.
Go on, let Philip finish and I'll go back to you, David. Go on, Phil.
David's obsessed with personality. I mean, David would masquerade as a right-wing, true blue conservative, as would I. But the problem was I voted for Boris to be the party leader. And the problem was he was too left-wing for my taste, as it turned out. That's the problem. And the problems that Rishi Sunak's dealing with, just to give you a couple of examples, Patrick, Rishi inherited huge net migration figures from Boris. Boris was, of course, very liberal on immigration. He was when he was mayor of London. Rishi inherited that. So he's now changed. Rishi has come along, changed the immigration rules to stop dependents being able to come in, to increase the amount that people have to earn before they can come into the country, to tackle universities who are selling immigration rather than education, to reduce the level of immigration to the country. He's delivering a more conservative agenda. Net zero. Boris was a net zero fanatic. Right. Rishi Sunak has actually delayed the route to net zero. So my point is, Patrick, is that Rishi's actually, take the personalities out of it, on every possible policy area, Rishi is delivering a more conservative agenda than Boris ever did.
Look, David, is that true? And, you know, the fact is that even if he is doing that, he's not winning you by-elections, is he?
No, look, I'm not a fanatic about Boris, as Philip rather jovially put it. I mean, I think you were going to support Jeremy Hunt, but your Nesta was going to become Deputy Prime Minister, Philip. Maybe that's the motivation. But look, it's not about Boris. Boris actually now, if he was an MP, they'll be queuing up outside his office to get him back. We've had a huge surge of people sending messages to bring back.
Oh. All right. We've got an issue. We've just got a slight issue with your connection, David, and so we'll get that sorted. We'll get that sorted. Phil, I am going to put the same question to you though, which is, he is losing by-elections. OK, he is, and he can't keep going around saying, "Oh, it's the midterms and stuff." It's election year. I mean, this guy clearly is not popular. People are not, whether or not you're actually really losing a load of votes to Labour or to Reform. I think what we can't deny is that traditional Tory voters are not actually going out and voting for him, are they?
No, but this is not new, Patrick. This was happening in 2022 when Boris was Prime Minister. This is the same. North Shropshire, we lost a 24,000 majority and lost it by 6,000. We did the same thing in Tiverton and Honiton. I'm sure David at the time was saying, oh, well, it's just typical by-elections back then. But, of course, when it's a different person he doesn't like, he has a different answer. But the point is that, look, we know why we're taking a kicking in these by-elections because over the last 4 or 5 years, we haven't been conservative enough. Now, Boris is not as conservative as people thought he was. Rishi is actually more conservative than people think he is. And if you actually look at the agenda that he's pursuing, cutting down on legal immigration, trying to tackle illegal immigration, pushing back the...
He has delayed. Can I just step in here, though, Philip? Because he has actually delayed and rode back on certain things like the salary cap and like student visas and dependents and all of that stuff. So, I mean, it's all very well and good saying he's taken measures, but I don't know whether or not David would presumably argue that actually he wasn't being completely honest with the public about that.
Well, if he was doing so well, then the polls would reflect it. And, this is disastrous. We're about 20% in the polls. We're looking at a cliff edge here. We're looking at maybe 160 MPs surviving. We're looking at maybe less than that. So I'm sorry, it's not working, and we need to look at it seriously. And I think MPs should set up to the mark and actually let's have a leadership challenge. And let's see what comes out of that, because if we get the right team in now, this game is all about getting back our own voters who are gone on strike. As I say, 20,000 in each of these by-elections. They're the ones we need to concentrate on. Never mind Labour. It's actually our own voters, getting them back and away from Reform as well, who are now, up to 13%, as we saw in one of these by-elections in Wellingborough. So that's the way to go.
Look, Philip, Rishi Sunak might be a lovely guy. I'm sure he is. He does come across, relatively nicely. I don't think anyone's really, questioning him on that front particularly, right? But, coming out with fags and A-levels, a Manchester Party conference speech when everyone wanted, come on, get to grips with the bloody country, get to grips with the economy, get to grips with NHS waiting lists, get to grips with illegal immigration and actually do something about it and do something totemic. Oh, I'll do everything within my powers. Well, he's not, because he's not going to leave the ECHR, is he? I mean, he's just not got it, Philip, has he?
Patrick, I couldn't disagree with you more, and it pains me to say that because you're such a great guy. But look, you say about leaving the European Convention of Human Rights. Read the Rwanda bill. Read the front page of the Rwanda bill. On the front page of the Rwanda bill, every bill has to say whether or not the government believes it's compatible with the European Convention of Human Rights. The front page of the Rwanda bill says that the Home Secretary has determined that this bill does not comply with the European Convention of Human Rights, but the government wishes to pursue it anyway. The government is actually not abiding by the European Convention of Human Rights to get the Rwanda bill through. And so if David stopped the circular firing squad attempt of politics, which doesn't work, and actually got behind the government, actually tried to focus on what the government's doing well and turned our attention on Labour, it's Keir Starmer who's a threat to the country, not Rishi Sunak. We might get somewhere if we rode in behind each other rather than this ridiculous, pathetic thing every day of saying, let's get rid of the Prime Minister.
Now, look, hey, David, final word to you on this. That's quite a good point, isn't it? Because there is a heck of a lot to go after Keir Starmer on, all right? I mean, he won't tell us what his policies are. When he does, he reverses it the next day anyway, all right? I mean, Ed Davey is currently missing. If anyone's seen Ed Davey, can you please contact someone? So, maybe you should be looking at those people.
Of course, look, what we're trying to do is stop Starmer get there for 10 years. That would be a complete nightmare. Philip and I agree on that. It's just how you do that. And I'm sorry, I think the Rwanda bill has problems and will hit legal obstacles pretty fast because they didn't accept the amendments. So let's see. But I think it's time now, I'm afraid, for a change. That's what everyone's telling us on the membership. People are giving up, and we don't want to be giving up. We need to fight this.
Right.
The only way we're going to have a chance of doing that is to get a new leader and get back to true Conservative policies.
Look, both of
The
you,
only
thank you
person
very
who's
much.
up is David.
Lovely. All right, OK. I'll see you in a bit. Take care. I'm glad they're not in the studio. I'll be breaking that up. Right, who do you agree with? Should the Tories ditch Rishi Sunak? Carol on X says, unfortunately, Rishi doesn't connect with the people, nor do those in his party. I can't truly vote for any of them. Carol, I know the feeling. Spencer on X says, what's the point? Nobody else will be any good anyway, and they'll be out soon. I just don't care. And this is so annoying, but I agree with you again. I just don't care anymore, and we should care. We've got massive problems facing this country at the moment, and we, you, me, everyone we know are being massively let down by our political class. Eleanor says, no, not another Prime Minister change. All right, well, look, your verdict is in. 84% of you think that the Tories should ditch Rishi. 16% of you say that they shouldn't.